Greetings, friends. Thank you for joining me on the Albert Plan YouTube channel. My name is Dan Albert, and I have a very sincere question for you. And I know it's going to irritate a lot of people, and the way that I think might offend some people. But the question is it even plausible that President Trump could lose to Joe Biden in the 2020 election? And I can tell you, my answer to that question is no, it's not plausible. Democrats have tried and tried and tried to just create the plausibility that Donald Trump could lose re-election. That was what the impeachment was all about. They weren't expecting to impeach and remove President Trump from office. And that sham political impeachment has come out in the light of day to be proven to be perhaps a treasonous, but certainly a very wrong abuse of power by the prior administration, including President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. They targeted Donald Trump in a way that hopefully has never happened before. I'm not saying that there are things that haven't passed us by that we don't realize happened in the past. But we are in distress. Our nation's in distress. And we have a president that has done some great things. He is incredibly flawed. There are times when I'm livid at him. And I intend to, after he's reelected, I intend to do what I would have loved to have done from his first days in office. And that's one reason why I propose a constitutional amendment that would establish a term limit of one term of 6 years for president. So that people supporters, voters that voted in favor of the president could be liberated to give an honest assessment of the president's performance without threatening his reelection. His or her reelection. I would love to have been very vocal about some things over the last 4 years, but none of them would dissuade me from voting for him this term, in 2020. So you got that, folks? We can be honest about President Trump's flaws, and we can support him with unwavering support on the principle that we in order to preserve our republic and to maximize liberty and to do all kinds of good things for our country, that we have to reelect him. We have no choice. So can President Trump plausibly lose reelection? I think not. Our black brothers and sisters are awakening to the exploitation of the Democrat Party, and they're walking away. There's a walkaway movement, there's a Blexit movement. Candace Owens is a gift from God, and she's leading the Blexit movement. Kanye West is on fire. It's exciting to see what's happening in the community of our black brothers and sisters. Ice Cube, there's so many that are coming out. And there are so many silent Trump voters within the black community that I think are going to make a huge difference in this election. In fact, in my book, The Albert Plan to Save America, 2020 edition, I point out that our black brothers and sisters can they can almost single-handedly, as a group, they could transform our country, because they've been exploited and they have been treated like they're owned by Democrats. And if they walk away in sufficient numbers, we can see a restoration of our country in no time. So we see strong Hispanic support of the president. We have law enforcement endorsing our president. when they haven't endorsed people in the past. We have unions that are endorsing our president, even though Joe Biden thinks that they endorsed him. And President Trump isn't necessarily a union guy, but he's a pro-worker president. That's the key difference. We need to bring American jobs back that have been exported out of the country. Those jobs that President Obama and likewise probably Vice President Biden believe that would never come back to our country. Those jobs are gone forever. We have to get used to the new normal. Well, we don't have to accept that. So we can have a rising up of our country, an unleashing of the free market like we've never seen that could, in terms of the implementation of my plan, the Albert Plan to Save America, we could see 7% real compound annual growth for 10 years. It'll double our real GDP of our nation if we fully implement the plan that I've prescribed. Our nation can thrive. Even in this time of COVID-19, there's a silver lining. There's great blessing that can come from adversity. We know that can happen. So for many reasons, I don't believe it's plausible that President Trump can lose, except for election fraud. And that's the bold statement. That's what I believe. That's what I think will offend a lot of people. It's not a call to arms. It's not a throwing down the gauntlet by any means. It's just what I believe is real. We have a lack of election integrity in this country, and I've proposed a simple way to restore election integrity. But we are in the midst of a fight. The Democrats are locked in mortal combat. They're going for the jugular. They're in the fight to the death. They have a plan to completely eliminate election integrity, take over our elections, that will never have a chance to win very many Republican contests again, and thereby implement their grand plan to create a socialist nation that would eventually turn to communism, selling out the completion of the sellout of our nation to China and other nations. Their agenda is very dangerous and very damaging to our country, and we are about to lose our republic. This election cannot be stolen by election fraud. We have to vote in massive numbers, but we have to be vigilant and just rooting out all forms of election fraud. The Democrats, with their transition integrity project and their intention to wage lawfare in the courts to undermine the results of our election, to muddy the water, and to turn election day, where we should know the results by that night, they're turning it into a nightmare election month. They have so many different ways they've gamed this out to be able to deny President Trump a second term. It's shameful what they've done, and we the people have to wake up and recognize that we have to fix our broken system. So no, I don't think it's plausible that President Trump could lose re-election except for election fraud. And that means that what I'm saying is that if Biden wins, it will be by fraud. And Democrats are trying to steal the election. Democrats think that Republicans are trying to steal the election. So is there a way that we could call a timeout and have President Trump declare federal election day, sequester federal election day, to require jurisdictions to publish their list of eligible voters so that they could be scrutinized, that list could be scrutinized by the public, and to postpone state and local elections until next year, and to vote by paper ballots, Could President Trump do that? He has emergency powers. He's talking about using the military with their logistical capabilities to put out 100 million doses of a vaccine. Is it possible that President Trump could constitutionally impose election integrity on this nation as an emergency measure? It's feasible that he could. It's feasible that it could be done. Every election jurisdiction right now, less than 2 weeks, 11 days from the election, should be able to publish their list of eligible voters. That should be required. And elections already should be decentralized and distributed enough that no election precinct has an overwhelming number of voters that would come to those precincts. There are only up to 3 ballots that would need to be printed for each precinct, for each congressional district. Those ballots could be printed in sufficient quantity that each precinct could have 1 ballot for every eligible voter. People could be quickly registered as voters when they show up with their thumbprint and confirm that with their voter information, and to keep that information very specific to establishing the eligibility for people to be in this country and the right to vote in that jurisdiction. All of the chaos, the uncertainty, the division that's been sown, all of that could go away if it's possible that President Trump could impose election integrity on us. We indeed have an emergency, folks. Our nation is in distress, and this COVID crisis has been used to create greater potential for election fraud than we've ever seen in our nation. So they're going to commit all of the fraud they can, and they're going to use election, they're going to use lawfare. They've got attorneys lined up, and they have their plan, their transition and integrity project. They've got it all gamed out. And we, the people, have to be ready for, to observe our elections and to do all that we can do to assure election integrity as best we can. So is it plausible that President Trump could lose? Only by election fraud. And I don't know if I'm going to actually post this video, but at least I got it off my chest. Call me well, I know all the ramifications here, folks. We are so close to losing our republic. And I know that it almost seems like the left wants to have a hot civil war, and they're doing all they can to lay the groundwork for undermining the results of the election. They committed great crimes against our republic during the last election. and they've tried for the last 4 years to remove President Trump from office. They've used every tactic that they can. They've committed treason against our country. The deep state is real. The FBI can't be trusted. We shouldn't trust government in general. We should always be very skeptical about anytime the government says they want to try to help us. Our founders established limited government, not a massive national government, which is what a lot of the entrenched establishment political class want. So I don't know I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the down ballot decisions. I'm concerned about ballot harvesting in 2018, flipped a lot of seats. That's a massive opportunity for fraud, that whole process of ballot harvesting. There are so many problems that undermine our election integrity, and we're just days away from having what could be a disaster of an election. The 2020 election is a farce. At this point, it's a farce. I have absolutely no confidence in the whatever the results are. I have no confidence in those results. Even if President Trump wins, there's so many down ballot races that would be questionable. And I don't know, if President Trump could use the emergency powers of our current situation that we're in to impose election integrity in the manner I've prescribed, is it feasible? Yes. Would it be challenged? Yes. Would it survive a constitutional challenge? If done the right way, probably. But it's not going to happen. He's not going to take that step. Unfortunately, we have a problem on our hands where no matter who wins the election, there's going to be great resistance to the results on the left or on the right. It'd be better to do it. It'd be better to impose this emergency measure and live with those results than it would be to live through whatever the results are on the path we're currently on with all the chaos that will come afterwards. If Biden wins, the right is likely not going to accept that. If Trump wins, the left is not going to accept that. They've already put us on notice. Hillary Clinton said that Biden should not concede no matter what happens. They're intending to litigate this and take the time to tear it apart, tear our country apart in the process. So we need to pray for God's intervention, and I think that if President Trump were to take this bold move, it'd be better than the results that we're going to get, because we are heading for, if Trump wins, there are going to be riots and looting and cities burning and possibly political assassinations, and there's just so much turmoil that's going to happen. If Biden wins, the immediate response by conservatives and Republicans and people on the right, people that voted for Trump, that the immediate response will not be a violent one. But there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be weighing the options of what can be done at that point. It was interesting during the debates. Every debate had the Declaration of Independence on the back, over the left shoulder of both Biden and Trump. The words of the Declaration that asserted that we the people have the right to alter a government that is tyrannical. Those words were over the left shoulder of both of them in both debates. I find it interesting that was out there for all the world to see. May God bless our country with peace, and that we would find a path to greater unity instead of the alternative of having our nation torn apart. Because I fear that that's where we're heading if we don't restore election integrity. These are somber words, but I don't, that's the way I see it. So, a lot to ponder, and may God bless you, and may God bless America, and may we find a path that will restore order to our chaotic nation. Thank you for your time.